I think it's very appropriate that Citizen Kline start tonight with tribute to his family. This is Family Week. And although I play to an audience much larger to that, my family, I'm dedicating this to the Kline, the Woods, the Caddocks, anybody that's got a last name associated with us, the Woods. Look, I'd like to tell you about my family a little bit, and I have to tell through my story about my family, aunts and uncles and cousins, is through my vantage point, and so you might not interpret it that way. I think most of all, for the most part, all us cousins really got along. Now, I don't know what to think. I didn't know of any animosity with my cousins between them. So, if that's the case, I'm pretty sure I never heard any of my cousins really talk too bad about anybody. I was, oddly enough, older than most of my cousins. However, my mom and dad were the oldest couple in the family, and consequently, their youngest son ended up being a lot older than a lot of his cousins. In fact, many of my cousins I don't even know. I seen Skip, and I seen Ken and Susie, and Carol. My they were small. So by the time I was 15 and went in the Navy, I guess that they were probably still pretty young. But anyway, I left Elmira in 8th grade, finished 8th grade in Canandaigua, New York. So 1959 really would have been my last real association with Elmira. So anyway, that takes care of that kind of portion of it. One of the things is I work real hard at having a good vocabulary. Now, this is important. And if you hear me talking about, like, I really like vocabulary and I really like to learn. And let me preface this with this. I adored my father. I mean, I really did. Anybody who knew my father knew my father didn't have a mean bone in his body. He's just a really gentle, good guy. All right? So, having said, and I think all my uncles would have said that, all my aunts would have said that, and anybody that knew my father would really essentially say that. You had to push the hell out of him to get him to react. And if you reacted, you were terrified. And, because that element, that Kline element, they're not called Klines for nothing. And so it's that moment. The Kline moment is when everybody in the world knows that they're only focused on their own horse shit, and you better pay attention to it. That's really what it means. Anyway, that's my interpretation. Agree or disagree? I don't care. But let me tell you about my uncle. I had an uncle, Ken, and my uncle Ken, he drank club soda, and he had this little mustache, and he looked so cool. And when I was little, I was quite smart, and I'd listen to my Uncle Ken, and he was always making up words. And that fascinated me, because I said, why is he making them up? And my uncle, Ken, more than any other human being I've ever met, wanted to learn. And he wanted to be what he was. It's hard when you want to be something and you can't be it because you're limited to your time on earth. But Ken Kline died the most successful man in the world because, number one, he had found his God, and man, if anybody that finds their God's a pretty lucky person. For some of us, it seems impossible. I don't know if I'm an atheist or agnostic, pragnostic, but nonetheless. Anyway, so, and he found out what he wanted. He had a heart attack. He had several heart attacks. He had many heart attacks. And he adored his family. And he was a young man. Not even close to the prime of his life. And he found out that he wanted to be educated. And he started school. And nobody loved school more than my Uncle Ken. Nobody loved his family more than my Uncle Ken. And so I took it upon myself, listening to him making up words. I took that to mean that if you have an opportunity to learn, you better do it. Because he didn't as a young man. As a young man, he was out. My father-in-law was telling me, Donna's father, before he died, that Ken helped him deliver milk in Canandaigua when he was 13, 14 years old. And how abused he was by, that whole thing, that so many people are dead, but my point is that was the impression. But man, was he smart. My Uncle Ken was the smartest man. And I modeled myself. Not my defects. He had his, I've got mine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about he taught me that I needed to want to learn everything I could. And I did. I mean, I've done so many wonderful things in my life. I've learned to fly airplanes. Greatest fear in the world was flying. My gosh. I had the best uncles, My Uncle Norb was a good man. My Uncle Bill was a good man. My Uncle Art was a good man. My Uncle Ernie. I adored my Uncle Ernie. Adored him. But the mover and the shaker in our family was Ken. He was the glue that made the family and held it together. And for all of this, I wish that I could have that childhood back, and maybe in a very special way this Saturday when we all get together, we can just for a moment be back where we were, huh? My Uncle Charlie, I loved him, and Anna. Man, Anna was my father's baby sister. Whenever Anna came in the room, my father glowed. You know that look? They all had it. If you're a Kline, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're married to a Kline, maybe, I bet you do too. I'll bet you too. The Kline look. Nothing like it. This is your, I don't know what the hell I am to you. I'm your first cousin, second cousin. I don't know. Have a good one, my family. Bye-bye.